You're listening to the Oz TV podcast, only on the Oz Network. Welcome back to the Oz Network as we come to you today for another interview with a cast member from one of the 3 TV shows that we are covering and rewatching and recapping, going back into the vault. And I have to say that today, very excited to bring you this one. You can literally tell I'm smiling right now because I've just gotten off the line with this person, and as such a fan of this person, it's rare for me to fanboy out. And I guess I've said that in a few of these interviews, but this is 100% just beyond what I'm trying to say here. And you'll hear me say this to her. We have an interview with you today with Kim Raver, of course, for our Third Watch listeners, best known as Kim Zambrano between seasons 1 and season 6 of the TV show. But outside of that, as a huge 24 fan myself, obviously played Audrey Raines on 24 across at least 4 seasons, and went on to, of course, be in plenty of other shows. You know, I generally avoid Grey's Anatomy, but I think a lot of fans know her from Grey's Anatomy, and she's just about to work and be reunited again with Kiefer Sutherland, aka, of course, Jack Bauer from 24, in Designated Survivor as well. So, very esteemed actress, obviously focused a lot on TV. She has been in films, but for the most part, this interview is focused on Third Watch. We were only given a very short opportunity to speak with Kim, but look, I would have been happy to speak to her for 2 minutes, and it would have still been an incredible moment for me. So the fact that we got 15, that in itself is a huge deal here. So for Third Watch fans, this one's obviously mainly targeted across her time on Third Watch. You're going to hear about how she got the role, what it was like working with Bobby Cannavale, as well as Eddie Cibrian, her favourite storyline across her time on the show, and some interesting behind-the-scenes stuff about just how fun it was working with several of these cast members across her time on the show. Great stories, great to hear. You also hear why she ultimately did leave Third Watch, what brought her about getting into 24, and we do briefly touch on her upcoming role in Designated Survivor and what it's like to work once again with Kiefer Sutherland. So sit back, relax, get ready to listen to my chat with Kim Raver. It is a massive pleasure to welcome our next guest here to the Oz Network, an actress who is very well regarded in the industry and is probably best known to a lot of our listeners on this show through our Third Watch rewatch that we're doing currently at the moment, is playing Kim Zambrano throughout this show. It's appeared in plenty of other shows that you know her from, 24, Grey's Anatomy, and she's actually about to work with her 24 co-star again in Designated Survivor, that of course being Kiefer Sutherland. Please welcome to the show today, Kim Raver. Kim, such an honor to have you on the show today. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is wonderful.
It is, I just say, I don't often fanboy out really a lot when it comes to doing interviews anymore, but as somebody who really huge Third Watch fan, huge 24 fan, huge Designated Survivor fan, right now this is a pretty exciting moment for me, so I just wanted to tell you that right now, Kim. It really is an honor to talk to you today. But I think a lot of...
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
A lot of our listeners, as I said, we're doing sort of a rewatch of Third Watch, basically, right from the very beginning. We are, at least at the time of recording this, halfway through. We've just reached the end of season 3. Still got a little bit to go. But for yourself, obviously, I mean, this show, you finished up on it 13 years ago. A lot has happened in your career since then, but I mean, it's nearly been 20 years. I really feel weird saying that now that it's 2018. The next year we can say it's been 20 years since Third Watch. I mean, is it hard to believe that it's been that long since this little TV show called Third Watch?
God, that's insane. That's insane when you say that, when it's been that many years. I just can't wrap my head around it. I mean, that Third Watch was sort of the beginning of my career. John Wells, did ER and then had this show, Third Watch, and it was really I have such incredible memories of it because it was sort of the springboard for me into all these other wonderful shows that you've mentioned, Grey's Anatomy and 24 and now Designated Survivor. And I remember doing an interview with someone and he was laughing because he was like, do you just do television shows with numbers in it? Like Third Watch, 24, like the... So it was kind of funny. But no, and I'm still friends with people from Third Watch, and I love when I'm home because New York City is my home, and you know who the firefighters are and who are the police, and you know, we had such admiration for them, and I still do. But obviously, while we were working and telling those stories. So I cannot believe that much time has passed, because it kind of does feel like it was just yesterday.
It's crazy. I mean, I don't know how this kind of sounds, Kim, when I say this. I was 12 when Third Watch started, but I remember when it started.
Oh my God, stop it.
But it's interesting because I was a huge ER fan.
I was 12 too.
Yes, you were. Yes, you still you only just turned 21, didn't you, Kim? I believe I just read that somewhere. Is that true?
Exactly, that's right. You're so clever.
But I mean, I was a huge ER fan. It kind of obviously it turned me into watching Third Watch, and I just was taken away by it. When you first kind of get presented with that script and kind of it's all sort of been presented to you, I mean, how did that casting process go? Were you kind of reading for it? Were you sort of approached for this show? I mean, do you kind of remember how it sort of all came about when Third Watch first was brought to you?
Yeah, I remember I was doing really one of my first TV shows, and it was with John Wells, and it had run, I think, like 7 shows, and then it was called Trinity, another number. And sadly, it was canceled just after, I think we had done 13 shows, but it was canceled after 7 or 8. And I remember I was just devastated because I just loved working, with John. He's such an incredible writer and showrunner. And he said, well, don't worry. I have an idea for something else. Don't worry. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go with that and just be okay, even though I felt so devastated. He then came to me a couple of weeks later, a couple of months later, and he said, listen, I'm writing this other show. Would you be interested in doing it? I said, of course. And he told me the whole storyline. And he also asked Bobby Cannavale. And there lies in the name Kim Zambrano and Bobby. And we were playing partners as paramedics, but those roles were written for us by John Wells because we had been in a previous show with him. And then kind of the rest is history after that. And then, the show ran 5 years. So, that was an incredible gift. And, I definitely remember that transition. I remember something, out of something that seemed so sad became this, beautiful new project. So that was definitely a gift.
And it makes it easy, no doubt, then for yourself and, as you mentioned, Bobby Cannavale, to kind of remember your characters' names, doesn't it? When you just literally your first names are your same first names.
Yeah, but then it became, part of me had wished that it wasn't my name, because then I'd be walking down the street and I'd hear, Kim! So I think it was actually, like a family member or a friend, and I'd be like, yeah, I don't know this person. So then it became hard to discern, which is great, and I absolutely loved talking to fans, and it was so amazing. But it always took me like a minute to go, is it Zambrano or Raver? Like, who do they think they're talking to? So yeah, that kind of became funny. You wanted to have a little bit of your own identity. But I loved it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of weird. I remember when you went to 24 and, I'll mention that in a second, but like how excited I was to see you on that. And then kind of, when I would mention like, oh, there's Kim. And I'd even be thinking like, am I referring to her as the actress? Am I thinking this because she's Kim from Third Watch? Like, how is this working? So I'm like, okay, we'll just call her Audrey, but then no, we'll still call her Kim because of Kim Raver. So I think as a fan, I was getting a little bit confused there sometimes.
Right.
It's
but then at least when people were calling me Audrey in the States, then I kind of immediately could identify like, oh, okay, 24, or like it helped to know how we were identifying with one another.
Yes, I can imagine. I mean, obviously you mentioned Bobby. I mean, kind of, I think initially a lot of the Third Watch, sort of at least the first season and a half was, you working with Bobby, and then kind of the first season was a lot around, the love triangle with yourself and Eddie Cibrian's character, of course, Jimmy. I mean, what was it like, I guess, on your season run working with both Eddie and Bobby? I mean, two incredibly attractive gentlemen, two very esteemed actors, obviously still gone on to great big things like yourself as well. But I mean, I can imagine they both look like they would have been very fun actors to work with, particularly with such an interesting storyline, that, especially in the first season when they're both kind of fighting over you.
Oh, I was the luckiest girl in the world. It was fantastic. And also, Bobby Cannavale has gone on. I'm sure you've seen like the incredible work that he's done.
Mm-hmm.
And him and I spent so much time together because we played, paramedics. And so we'd be in the ambulance so much, just, talking and hanging out and sharing stories. And, the whole group was so talented and so funny. I mean, it was just me and Molly Price. It was the only two women at the beginning. And then this like total prankster. I mean, those guys were the biggest pranksters ever. So you definitely had to stay on your toes. There was like constant, like you thought we were like doing pranks as like, characters in the show. Well, there was definitely a lot going on. You didn't know what was going to come flying out of where to who, like an Anthony Ruivivar and Skip Sudduth. I mean, everyone was, but definitely a big prankster. So that was a hilarious show. And, and getting to work with Eddie and Bobby was just a delight. They both were just great.
Can you remember any of those pranks you're mentioning, sort of any ones that stand out, that were some of your favorites, or some interesting story to tell today?
There was a lot of food pranks because a lot of us would center around in the kitchen at the firehouse.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone had to eat anything, like sometimes they would like stick it to the table or put some other food there that you weren't expecting to eat. So there's a lot of us, like when we were having a scene, you're kind of have that question on your face, like, I don't know if this is safe.
Always double questioning it.
And then just a lot of like, blizzards. Yeah, and then there was like a lot of blizzards in the snow. And I remember Bobby once. There's like Eddie had this hilarious, like, he's supposed to be this, man of steel firefighter, and he was like, he couldn't stop slipping everywhere because of the ice. So there was just a lot of laughs on that show.
Good to hear. Did you have a favorite storyline across your sort of 5 seasons that you were on the show?
I think the partnership with Bobby Cannavale. I think, and also like the deep love, but, Kim Zambrano was so, troubled, and, I think the storyline of the loss of her partner Bobby and kind of, and how she kind of worked through that, was definitely, a really sort of rewarding season.
Yeah, it's one thing I'll quickly add just with that, though, that I kind of really can imagine was intense filming was, I guess, the Bobby death scene when he gets shot and kind of, I forget the actor's name, was playing Paulie, but he's holding the gun to your head and just kind of the silence that was kind of going on with there. I mean, it's those sort of scenes that I can imagine as an actor.
That was incredible.
Yeah, like how is it preparing for roles like that, just in scenes like that, I guess? Because, I mean, you obviously had a fair bit of that going on in 24, but I mean, at that point, as you said, this is kind of like, something that really getting a big start on television in that sort of role at that point in time.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you say that, and that moment was kind of a highlight because I had never done anything like that before, and it was sort of terrifying and exhilarating all at once because, it's a moment as an actress that you want to be able to have that sort of heightened moment, but yet it's quite emotional, and the actor that was playing, was in the scene with us was just amazing, and Bobby was incredible. That whole day was just extraordinary. And yeah, maybe that was the precursor to like 24 and, all of the kidnapping and guns and, knives and, but definitely for me as having that kind of the first time was definitely, amazing. And then, amazing writing in there and the surprise of it and just the loss. I think all of us were so shocked also at the loss. It was, now a lot of characters sort of die off in shows, but we never really had that at the time. I mean, that was So that was kind of shocking for us, and I think shocking for the audience as well.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I just want to quickly mention as well, like, I mean, I sort of said as a fan, Kim, I kind of felt like you're helping me out as a fan, that you went from my favourite show of Third Watch to my second favourite show of 24. But I mean, when it came to leaving Third Watch, was that a case of that you thought there wasn't enough done for your character? Had you gotten the role for 24? I mean, kind of, Third Watch was very near the end anyway, but I mean, what was the reason, I guess, behind leaving Third Watch at the time you did?
Yeah, it's a really good question. You know, I felt like that was definitely sort of like the trajectory of me kind of growing in my career, and I had such an amazing experience, and the possibility of 24 was kind of in the arena at that moment. And so I had a discussion with John Wells. You know, obviously I was incredibly grateful to have that experience, because I wouldn't have had it without, you know, him writing that role for me. And so I asked for his permission whether I could leave. I think it was in my fifth year, right? Or fifth year.
Yeah.
To go on to do this new show for me at the time, you know, called 24, and he gave my blessing, and it was really a really wonderful. I think he saw that it was a wonderful opportunity for me, and that we had all felt like we'd gotten to tell, you know, in its entirety, the story of Kim Zambrano, and so with his blessing, I went on to get to do 24, and that kind of, you know, launched me off into like another section of my career, which I'm really grateful for.
And I feel that we will have to get you back on one day to definitely cover 24, because I've got a whole other set of questions when it comes to, obviously, Audrey and all that happened there, because, yes, you know, I absolutely love that show and just everything that. But one thing I'll quickly add, though, before we let you go, is in regards to that, I mean, we're about to see you again on Designated Survivor. So, I mean, this opportunity, I guess, to work with Kiefer again, I mean, how is that experience? Because, you know, for 24, you know, fans like myself, to kind of see you guys reunited is exciting. I mean, I legitimately watched Designated Survivor purely because Kiefer Sutherland's in it, and now that you're joining the show, it's like again, Kim, thank you for thinking of me as a fan. I really appreciate you like my TV shows that I watch, and you appear on them.
I mean, I feel lucky in the fact that, like, Kiefer and I have such an amazing working relationship. It's, you know, you find other actors that you work incredibly well with, that just organically, it just comes naturally. And I feel that, you know, I'm fortunate enough to have that. And so when Kiefer called me and told me about this amazing role, and I was like, of course, Kiefer, it's you. And, you know, absolutely, yes, whatever, because I love working with him. And he's such a consummate professional, and he raised the bar so high that, like, everyone wants to work with him, because everyone wants to make the best kind of creation that we can, and he really sets that tone. So, you know, first when he asked me, I was like, yes, of course. And then when he told me what a great character it was, I was like, yes, double yes. And now to actually be here and to be working together, it's really, I just feel very grateful, because it's a wonderful role. It's wonderful to be able to work with Kiefer again. And it's with such ease, because we have such a history together.
Yeah. Well, we're very much looking forward to seeing how it all plays out with that very, very soon. But Kim, can I just honestly say once again, from how much of a pleasure this has been to chat with you today. As said, we'll have to do this again when it comes to talking about 24. We can put more Third Watch questions to you as well, to really reminisce in the past. But such a pleasure. We look forward to seeing how it all plays out, not only in Designated Survivor, but whatever else comes your way with your career, which still is going great guns. And by all means, thank you again for appearing on the Oz Network here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I love that you guys are doing a revival of Third Watch. I think it's fantastic, and I'm honored to be here. Thanks again.
Such an absolute honour for her to be able to join us on the show. And once again, thanks to Kim for giving us her time for the show, and to Kim's management team for also arranging that interview for us. From the bottom of my heart, it is an absolute honour to be able to speak to Kim, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for arranging that. And to everybody listening to this, I hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, still very excited, very buzzing. And it's interesting, actually, all the Third Watch cast members that were spoken to on this show, and of course who I previously spoke to on my former show, kind of platforming here. I'm still obviously a little bit excited the way I'm talking. I've actually spoken to paramedics, obviously between Kim, Amy Carlson, as well as Michael Beach and Anthony Raver. So I'm ticking off the paramedics. I think we need to kind of get some of the cops on the show, but we potentially have a couple of them lined up. So stay tuned for that. One of them, of course, being Manny Perez, who we advertised during the week, mentioning that we will be having an interview with him, and that will be coming up as well. And we actually do have, funnily enough, going back to the paramedic side of things, a chat with Yvonne Jung Raivavar, who we kind of didn't tease out there. Kind of, it was confirmed sort of last minute, but great chat that we will be playing as well. So we're going through a lot of these Third Watch actors that we're so excited to be able to bring to you. And as, of course, anybody who listens to our Third Watch episodes knows the amount of fandom I have for that show, the love that I have for that show, and pretty much anybody who appears on that show. It's so exciting to be able to speak to these people, to hear about Third Watch, a show that really has very limited coverage across its run, and there's very few interviews out there with cast members talking about Third Watch. So we're glad to be able to bring these to you for a brief glimpse on a show that, scarily, as I said to Kim, of course, in the interview, is approaching 20 years old next year. That is just scary to think that we are now basically a year away from celebrating the 20th anniversary of Third Watch. Outside of Third Watch, though, we do have, of course, some other great interviews coming up for our Lost and Nip Tuck fan base. Plenty of people appearing there, particularly Lost. We have a lot of people lined up for our Lost interviews. So make sure you just stay tuned to our social medias. We will post out where we can, where you can get involved. And obviously, we would love for you to be able to get involved as best as you can. Get some questions into some of your favourite actors, and really essentially have your voice heard on our shows, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to serve you, the listeners, and we hope that you are enjoying the products that we're putting out there. If you are wanting to hear more of our Third Watch episodes, of course, we release them every Wednesday, and make sure that you do, when it comes down to those, give us a like button on Facebook. You can subscribe, of course, on all the channels, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, as well as, of course, following us on Twitter. We're on YouTube, Instagram as well. But thanks again to Kim. Thanks again to our management team. Seriously exciting to bring this interview for you today. In the meantime, my name is Ben. Thanks for tuning into the Oz Network. We will speak to you next time. Good night.
Thank you for listening to the Oz Network. Don't forget to subscribe to get new episodes delivered to your speakers every week. For more information, hit us up at theoznetwork.net.